Hello all, it's so nice to see so many of you joining us live today, and greetings to those who are tuning in later. My name is Sarah Hudgens and I am your conversation guide. I'm honored to serve on the board of an incredible organization here in the Houston area called Today's Harbor for Children. For those who do not know, Today's Harbor is an over 70-year-old nonprofit that serves abused and neglected children by providing the gift of an ordinary childhood in a safe and loving home environment. I'm sure we can all agree how important stability is in these challenging times. How much more is that important in the lives of children? And Today's Harbor strives to meet that need. This conversation is the very first installment of our ongoing webinar series. We'll be interviewing insightful guests and telling important stories that cover a variety of topics to inform, support, and celebrate Houston families and child advocates. The family unit is the basic building block of society. So why not play a role in helping families become stronger, as this will lead to stronger communities? We've got a great discussion for you today with Dr. Melanie Johnson, who is the CEO of Collaborative for Children, and Megan Clanahan, who is the co-owner of the popular website, the Houston Moms Blog. We'll be touching on family interests that are deeply connected to not only the Harbor's mission, but also to so many Houstonians. I can't wait to jump in, but first, a few housekeeping notes for those who are tuning in now. We are recording our live chat today, so it can be accessible or shared following this webinar. And I know it'll be on all of our social media platforms, as well as our website, todaysharborforchildren.org. So you can just sit back and enjoy. And then at the end of our conversation, we will be opening it up for Q&A. So please use that Q&A tool in the bottom of your Zoom screen to submit questions or comment your questions on the Facebook Live post. And of course, I apologize in advance if we don't get to all of them, but hopefully we will cover what you're most interested in a future conversation with those, if not today. And now I'm so honored to welcome our first guest. Dr. Johnson, why don't you go first and tell us a little bit about you and Collaborative for Children?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Sarah, for having me here on Today's Harbor's first installment of their web series, and I'm so excited to be here. I am serving as president and CEO of Collaborative for Children, as you mentioned, and it's an organization that's been around for more than 30 years, and our mission is basically to serve children, make sure that they're ready for school in both the parent homes as well as in childcare centers. So we are a resource and a referral center for both of those, and so delighted to be able to do that work every day.
Awesome. And Megan, go ahead. Will you introduce yourself? Oh, wait, Megan, you know what? You're not. Oh, wait, your audio. Oh, no. Okay, you know what? Hold on one sec.
Did it come back?
Oh, there she is. Okay, go ahead, Megan. Tell us a little bit about you.
I was definitely muting because I have a dog in the background, and this is real life, people. And my name is Megan Clanahan. I am the co-owner of Houston Moms Blog along with Jared King, who is a dad in Houston and owns a media company. Houston Moms Blog has been in existence for, it'll be 7 years. In September, we reached thousands and thousands of moms. Each day, our goal is to equip, inspire, encourage, and give timely, relevant information and to our moms. And so we publish fresh content to our website 6 to 7 days a week. And then we come alongside sponsors within the community that want to reach our target demographic. And writing is my heart, that blogging was my heart, and that's sort of how I fell into this whole business. And it is a joy and an honor and a privilege to reach so many, not just moms, but parents across the Houston area, from the Woodlands down to Bay City.
Oh, well, that is awesome. Thank you both again for having us. So, Dr. Johnson, I'm going to start with you first. Quick question. So, what has been an unexpected struggle for parents as they entered social distancing?
Yeah, I think for parents, the unexpected struggle is whether or not the child care center will honor the social distancing, and whether or not they can explain to their children that it's important to love and show affection in the ways that they might have traditionally shown affection and love, but now from a distance, and explaining also the coronavirus in a way that doesn't traumatize children. Children have very vivid imaginations and beautifully can run away with an idea such as a disease or pandemic to the extent that it's frightening and traumatizing. So finding perfect ways to explain those concepts to their children, which is just using teachable moments. And in terms of the childcare centers, social distancing is absolutely paramount, and which is why we've gone in Houston. We've moved from, everyone can go to childcare centers to just essential workers so that we can ensure that social distancing is paramount. And in the homes, social distancing is not quite as important as it is to children who want to go out and play and who miss their schools and their teachers and so forth. So explaining to the children why that social distancing is important in a way that doesn't traumatize them is the unexpected struggle I imagine that most parents have had.
Sure. No, that makes everything you said makes total sense. And what about you, Megan? Anything stand out to you?
I think it's just, I would echo that. I think it's what is age appropriate for your children at home. So I have twin 9-year-olds. So obviously the news is on somewhat. And so just talking about it in a way that doesn't make them scared. We social distance quite a bit here. We've been very, very stringent. My husband and I only leaving once or twice a week to go to the grocery store and alternating. We're not taking our children with us. And it scared them enough that they didn't even know if they could get in the car with us again. And so you have to kind of judge your child's emotional ability to take in the information. Also their age. Obviously mine can take in a little bit more, but still not having like the news playing on a repeat in the background. That wasn't a healthy thing for me, and it certainly wasn't for our children either. And so just tempering down what you want to be able to share, and that it comes from you.
Sure. No, and that kind of leads actually into my next question, which is having to do with how do you further develop or maximize empathy or connection with your kids during this time? And Dr. Johnson, feel free to step in too. I know I was kind of going towards Megan for this one.
So, we have to understand that our children are pretty much being put into an absolute unknown situation. And we don't know how they're going to react. And they may react differently on different days, in different hours. We certainly do. I think we need to have grace with our children, understanding that they are going through emotions that they can't even verbalize. So if you have a 3-year-old who is suddenly throwing like even crazier 3-year-old tantrums, it might be because their routine has literally been taken from them. And so I think as parents, we need to take a step back and center ourselves, remember the calm, do our best to maintain a new routine. It looks different. It's not necessarily what we want. It's not what I want. But parents, moms, we maintain the control of the temperament of the household. I think it's really important to do that. And then at the end of the day, if it's just been one of those days with homeschooling, and I mean homeschooling because I know it's really not homeschooling. We are hybrid schooling, that we give ourselves just lots of love at the end of the day and be like, you know what? Thank goodness we get another day to try tomorrow. And we hope that we all get that chance. And so just a little bit of extra patience and grace to all involved, especially our spouses. I'll just say that too.
Dr. Johnson, do you have anything to add? Because I do have a question on that with parents.
Yes, I would say that regarding empathy in this moment, where we're sheltered in place with our children, it's important for parents to understand that this is a golden opportunity to be that chief executive officer of your child's education and not in your child's learning journey, their learning journey. It's, learning goes on in so many places, not just in the schoolhouse and the schoolyard. And this is an opportunity for parents to really, really tune into their children's strengths and those. It's also a time, do they play fair with others? Do they take turns? And it's really important for you as as the parent who's also the guide for their social, emotional behavior, well-being, and skills, that you are empathetic to the extent that now you get a golden opportunity to play a significant role in the true value of education, which is the holistic.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Okay, so you kind of touched on this, Megan, so I'm kind of curious. What would you say, or how can parents maintain a strong support system in quarantine? Because I know it seems like a lot of parents right now are juggling a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of us who have two parents at home that have full-time jobs, and we have to get stuff done. So I think communication is absolutely paramount. So you need to lay down some ground rules. So like, for instance, today when we have this meeting scheduled, my husband works from like our actual office full-time. And so I needed to check with him and see if he had anything scheduled, needed to communicate with my kiddos that, hey, y'all need to stay upstairs during this. And so communication is a huge part of it. And it's remembering that we're all in the same team. We literally are in this together. And if I have to go to my husband and say, listen, I have to go to the garage and work out for an hour, and I need to not hear mommy on the technology or tech support or whatever it is. Although he's kind of my tech support, my husband's really good at that. I get the rest of it. I need an hour. If I want to go sit like in a parking lot and drink a Sonic Diet Coke, I need to say that I have to do that for me, and same goes for him. So communication is key, and that's communication with their kids too, and kind of laying out what the expectations of the day are. And we typically start the night before. So we'll say, hey, you have a Zoom call at 10:05 to 10:20 tomorrow morning. You need to be ready for Miss, XYZ. And then you have another one here, and then we're going to do school from here to here. That being said, communication is key, laying out the schedule is key, flexibility is huge, because you have to understand that everything is not going to go to plan. There's going to be things that come up, and he has to hop on a meeting, I have to hop on a meeting, I can't get to her particular Zoom call. So we have to be able to shift and move and understand that both of us are trying to do that and do the best to keep the harmonious in our new normal, right?
Totally, totally. No, everything you said definitely makes sense. Dr. Johnson, do you have anything to add?
I would just have to agree 100% with Megan about starting the night before, laying those expectations out. Tomorrow's a busy day for mom and dad. We'll be on some calls, but structuring, we are going to do XYZ on your online portal, or we're going to do certain things in terms of new experiments that we've laid out for you that we found in the New York Times or on PBS. So those are the kinds of things I think are really, really important. It's just communicating and managing expectations well in advance.
Sure. No, that makes, again, making sense. Okay, so Megan, let's get to kids. I know we just talked a little bit about parents. What are some activities that you've been doing to keep them busy? I know at the harbor, a lot of kids are spending a lot of time outside. And so I know you and I have kind of discussed a little bit of that. So if you could share a little bit on that, and that'd be great.
Sure. I mean, so outside is always a great option. It's free. We can, socially distance outside. Our kids have gone fishing. We've done all of those things. But then I think it's being creative outside. So we created a scavenger hunt sheet so they could go on a scavenger hunt. And my kids are old enough to go around. We have a little small neighborhood. So my kids are old enough to go out for like an hour by themselves and go grab the rock that looks like a heart, or a leaf that is turning different colors, and then you make it educational, right? And then it gives me a little bit of a break, but it's also a great opportunity if you have younger kids or not, to go around with them too and kind of explore different things that you would not usually do, or that we wouldn't have the free time to do. And then, Houston's going to get hot soon. So I also think it's important to remember things that you can do inside the house with your kids. So it doesn't have to be expensive. You don't have to buy a bunch of stuff off of Amazon. You can literally just lay out some blue like painter's tape across your living room and make like a fun like obstacle course, or make a racetrack for cars. If you have the little like Hot Wheels, they can play with that for hours. You can dump a bunch of things in your bathtub, like the fun little balls that you would have in a ball pit, and then other little activities. And then it becomes, your bathtub becomes like a contained environment. So if they're younger, they can't necessarily get out easily. But it also becomes like a sensory thing. So they go digging for treasures in your bathtub amongst all of these things, and it's not creating a huge bubble mess. Although we have done like plenty of bubble baths. My 9-year-old got carried away. We had bubbles up to here, but there are ways to come up with things that will keep them occupied, engaged. And I know, Dr. Will, I mean, when we can keep it educational too, and then we talk about it after. So if we go on the scavenger hunt, let's put those things in a bag and write about the specific attributes on each item. And so was it soft or hard, solid or mass? Like it depends on where they are in their schooling, and there are a ton of things you can play off of that too.
Awesome. And Dr. Johnson, anything to add? Or even any parent resources as well? I know, we're getting ideas for children, but maybe even things for parents to be able to kind of get recommendations from.
I don't have much to add there. It's just that I'm so happy that our city of Houston has so many resources for children. The zoo, I mentioned PBS and the like. There are just so many opportunities and options that so many nonprofits and even for-profit organizations have come on board to make sure that kids are well engaged. And so I'm really happy to see that.
No, that's awesome. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that's such an important point, and I'm so glad you brought that up. And because our children's museums and zoos, they're doing lives and all sorts of interactive things that your kids can log into. And so if you're looking at the clock and it's only 2 o'clock, you're like, we still have to go to 7. You can log on and find so many resources around our city. We have a great, from Houston Moms Blog, we'll have a great guide coming out on Thursday, and that lists all of those interactive experiences that are now virtual. We always put out a monthly calendar event-wise to get out and around town, but since we can't, we're gonna do a virtual one. And so that would be a great place to go and check out. And I think that you're so right. We're so lucky to live here that we can just literally log it on. I mean, the kids know how to get online better than we do anyway now, right?
Sure.
Just be like, go to the zoo.
Okay, so Dr. Johnson, kind of switching gears a little, how can parents that are essential workers find childcare in Houston? I know Texas is slowly, but about to start opening up. Do you have any comments on that?
Yes, we have a website called findchildcarenow.org, findchildcarenow.org. And essentially, we have about 60 caseworkers who are on hand to take registrations and also be able to provide those essential workers with childcare that's not only high quality and following the CDC protocols as best possible, but we've had a long history with them being excellent. And so we're able to look at specific zip codes near the place of work for the essential worker or near the home of the essential worker so that they can find quality childcare. Now, as well as in that same portal, you can register for funds for low and middle income families. There are funds available through findchildcarenow.org so that they can apply through Workforce Solutions and receive subsidies for childcare. So that is available to all of our families all over Houston. And as I said, it's an extended resource for not only low-income parents, but for middle-income parents as well.
Okay, awesome. So I've been actually getting a lot of questions, and so I kind of want to jump into some of those. So let me grab this real quick. Okay, so from Margaret in Sugarland, how can you best manage conflicts and anger with family members while staying home together during this quarantine time? And feel free, either of you, to jump in on that.
I'll take it. I mean, I think quiet time is really important during this time. So I know quiet time, even if your child isn't napping, I think it's really important to schedule in. And hey, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., you are going to have quiet time. Whether you nap or not, mommy doesn't, whatever you want to do, but to go and read a book, be by yourself. And I think, separation is good for us. We're on top of each other all the time. I put myself in timeout a lot. I think that's really important. I can be a better parent when I take a moment, even if it's literally a 10-minute stroll around the block. I can come back refreshed or I call a friend. And so I think if you can figure out a way to separate during these times, you have to. I have twins, boy and a girl, and they can be oil and water. They need to go to separate places. It just has to happen. And I think that's where the schedule comes in too.
Sure. Okay, so another question is, and this kind of, this is a very good question as far as I should have asked one in the beginning, but could you give some examples of how not to traumatize the children when explaining COVID-19? It's an interesting one.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. It's important that we not talk about the disease and the pandemic as something that has use terms like wiped out a community or, talk often about death and dismal points of this disease. But we talk about things like, because we are all in this world together and because communication and touch and being in close proximity are so important for us as a community to get things done and to interdepend upon each other, then you can break those concepts down. You can talk about why handshaking or touching a doorknob is being touched by so many different people. You can use those as teachable moments to talk about germs and cleanliness and why hand washing is so important. And you break down the various parts of those that are teachable moments so that children can understand that, from one person to the next and from one situation to the next, that a virus can spread. But you don't talk about the devastation and, so much that it could be devastating. It depends on the age appropriateness of that conversation. But the most important thing is to talk about the different aspects or the different attributes of a virus: hand washing, how we are all so interrelated and interconnected so that we are touching the same things, a dollar bill and so forth. And then talk about how viruses are just, how they're contained or how they're not contained and how they live within one and they have to run its course. And, and doing experiments. I've seen some of the classrooms in our childcare centers doing science experiments about contagion and things like that. And it's been fun and enjoyable for children, more so than devastating.
Okay. And actually, Dr. Johnson, I think this next question is also for you. In terms of childcare, what kind of protocols do you know if they are they taking any to avoid basically, I know, passing on, the virus or whatnot, or what kind of questions should people be asking the daycare to make sure they are taking proper precautions?
Now that's an excellent question. And we take our guidelines directly from the CDC. And we pass that information on to our childcare centers. And we get asked that quite a bit because now we're talking about phasing in return to work. And the number one concern of parents is this a place of cleanliness? And the one thing I think is important for parents to realize is that childcare centers, before all of the rest of us started washing hands more frequently and social distancing and bleaching and all of those kinds of things, childcare centers are notorious for those kinds of cleaning protocols. But now even more so stringent in terms of those protocols. So some of the measures that you should be asking your childcare center is, are adults allowed in the center? Right now we're dropping off and picking up children from curbside. A little bit of variation for that for infants, but for toddlers on up, we are dropping off and adults are not allowed into the center. Fortunately, children are not as impacted by COVID-19 as some of the other age groups like older adults. But at this point, we want to make sure that the adults are outside of the childcare centers, and that there are temperatures taken. Forehead thermometers are used to take temperatures of every single child before they walk into the center, and that you see that every single person, no matter what's going on, is masked and wearing proper PPE. Social distancing and things like how often are you cleaning and sanitizing doorknobs and door handles? Are the children's cots separately, at least 6 feet apart? How often what are you doing to make sure that the blankets are separate from other blankets? Those are the kinds of questions you want to ensure that you ask your childcare center before returning to work and dropping your children off. Those things are very, very important. And what do? Should they hear a child coughing or sneezing, or if they do have a temperature, do they send them out immediately, and do they send notifications to families?
Wow. Okay. So actually someone else just asked a question and you answered all of that. So I think, Megan, a question that just came in, I think will apply to maybe with your twins. What does your kids' daily schedule typically look like, just out of curiosity, in Monday through Friday in terms of school as well as weekend schedules?
Great question. We've kind of adapted to this later bedtime. We used to be an 8 p.m. household, and we are closer to 9 p.m. now. And for my twins to go to bed, again, they're 9 years old, so they can kind of handle it. But watching like a family show at night, they can go read in bed and then fall asleep. I am waking them up by 8 to 8:30, because they like to have a little bit of lag time. Now, during the school year, we were getting up at like 6:30 because they had to be at school at 7:20. But they do like to have that extra time to kind of do iPad time or something fun for them on. Do you hear them? Something fun for them on TV before they get into school. So school typically starts at 9. They do about an hour to an hour and a half, take a break. We kind of see where they are in their lessons. We have lunch. And then usually after that, we only have maybe an hour or so left of school. So we're looking from like a 1 to 2. We're wrapping up school. They wrap up Zoom calls if they have them. And 3 times a week, they have an opportunity to do Bible study through our church. And so they'll log in for a Zoom call at 3 p.m. to do that. And then the rest of it is kind of loose play. And depending upon if I feel like they need some extra integration of any sort of activities. I think what we found with the hybrid homeschool virtual model is we get through schoolwork a lot more quickly because they're not dealing with all of the social and there's not 30 kids around. So Mondays typically turn out to be our longest days, and because there's a lot of Zoom calls those days. And then by Thursday, we're kind of done. Friday is a very, very short day for us. The weekends, we still try to keep it a weekend. So we say no school, like we're not doing anything school related. We're not going to talk about it just like we would. And we try to come up with as many fun activities as possible. Family movie nights, of course, have become the norm. Picnics on the carpet. Anything we can do to make it a little bit special. But yeah, so that's kind of what our schedule looks like. Now, I will say, sometimes you have to read the room, right? Like that's a popular term here. Like we have to read the room. And there are times that we'll just say my daughter, it just isn't working for her, whether it's technology or frustrating or what have you. We have all day. And so we have no problem saying, okay, cool. We're going to take a break for 30 minutes and go run outside, go jump on the trampoline, what have you. So again, that flexibility kind of comes into play. I'm not going to sit them at the counter. And that's the other thing. I've learned to figure out how my kids best structure their study time and how they best learn. My daughter wants to be in her room with her door closed at her desk that we ordered right when COVID hit. And she wants to sit there with all of her stuff around her. My son can do his studies on the couch laying right there. And they still get the same amount of effectiveness and they just learn differently. And that's kind of how they both process. So it's really just reading what your child needs to be able to get it done and supporting them. That's kind of how my schedule goes. Long-winded answer. I don't talk short.
Awesome. Well, I want to honor everyone's time. So before we wrap up, do you both have some closing comments or words of advice for our parents listening?
Yes. One thing I failed to say is that findchildcarenow.org is a website that's been around for more than 20 years. And so that website is not just available for essential workers during this challenging time, but it's ongoing and always available and always free for families all over our 13 county region. So if you simply put in as much as your zip code, you can look at the licensing ratings of the child care centers, the quality rating of the child care centers, if they've had any violations within the past 12 months, all of that information, if they have play-based learning, all of that information is available to you based on where your child care needs are. But in addition to that, I think I just want to make sure that if I were to leave parents and families with some kind of sense of calm throughout this challenging time, it's that, Megan mentioned this is our new normal. And, normal is a concept where most people fall in that mean or that median. And we want to make sure that we understand that we are not in this alone, in the same challenges with children not getting along at certain times or being very, very demanding or just super sweet. They all go on in everyone's homes. And that as long as you understand that normal means that other people are dealing with it too, you can stop and take a deep breath and not aim for perfection. Normal means chaotic. Normal means smooth. Normal means all of those things. And so accept that and be empathetic. It's also a time to edify your children, to make sure that some of those nuances and those things that you really wanted your children, those skills that you really wanted them to hone as just good people, you have the opportunity, that golden opportunity from 8 to 5 and all day long to be able to do so. And when children are in school, they're among so many other people and so many other personalities. In this vein, you have them all to yourself to give them one-to-one attention to determine what skills, personality traits need to be fine-tuned and honed. And so edify your children, uplift them. That doesn't mean that they should consume every waking moment of your day, because in order for you to edify them, you must edify yourself. And so spend some time with yourself, telling yourself that I am a part of normal, no matter if the schedule didn't go as planned. Normal is me, and that other people are dealing with the same situation as well. So edify oneself and edify your.
Awesome. And Megan, do you have anything to add?
I love that. I echo all of that sentiment. Especially I love just getting to know your children better. Like, I have learned so much about my children on an individual basis and what they need. What is their true love language? And for my son, he just wants me to throw the ball with him for 20 minutes. And that fills his cup. And for my daughter, she wants to talk and bake and do. And if we do that for 20 minutes, then she'll be happy and her cup is filled. So it's been interesting to kind of learn additional things that I wasn't always seeing as they're growing up, because they are gone from me for 7 to 8 hours a day. And I would also say, if you need resources, just like Dr. Johnson said, where you know that we're in this together, and that there are so many parents that are literally feeling the same struggle you are at different points in their journey. Houston Moms Blog is there for you 24/7. We also have a great quarantine resource guide, and that's accessible. It has tons of different articles of not only activities and things that you can do with your kids, and where to go for help, hitting that CDC website. Dr. Johnson, I would love to add your site to that. I think it would be amazing. And then, also, just inspiration and courage. And just remember that Houston Moms, we're here to equip, encourage, inspire. You are definitely not alone. And we all feel it. And, it's the first time I've, blow dried my hair in 4 days. So, we're all doing our best to get through with what we have, with dogs jumping in the background. So thank you so much for the opportunity, though, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. We so appreciate it. And to all those who have joined in, we are just so thankful for our panelists. You guys were awesome. And we are so grateful to pass along all this information to our friends, and hope this was helpful for everyone. So for more information on upcoming chats, be sure to follow us on Facebook at Today's Harbor, or check out our website, todaysharborforchildren.org. So thank you guys so much. Talk to you all the next time.